My name is Naomi Carter, and I'm 32. 2 months ago, I learned something that still makes my stomach drop when I replay it. You can spend 3 years building a future with someone and still be nothing more than the safe option they're settling for. I'm a commercial HVAC technician, not the my uncle fixes air conditioners kind, commercial. Rooftop units the size of small cars. Retrofits in historic buildings where one wrong cut means you've just ruined a 100-year-old beam and your company's insurance agent starts praying. I've been in the trade for 10 years. Started as an apprentice, crawling through 110-degree attics and freezing mechanical rooms, learning how air moves through a building the way blood moves through a body. Now I run a crew of 5. My guys call me boss, half as a joke, half because I've earned it. I'm good at what I do. I make solid money, 6 figures in busy seasons, mostly because I'm the one who gets the emergency calls when a medical office loses cooling in July. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. And so is my condo. 2-bedroom, good neighborhood, paid off. I bought it at 26 after a promotion, then spent weekends installing cabinets, refinishing floors, and learning that YouTube tutorials can either save your life or convince you you're qualified to do plumbing when you absolutely are not. I was proud of it. Quietly proud. The kind of pride you don't post about, because the people who post about it usually didn't build it with their own hands. Then I met Ethan. He was 30, worked in pharmaceutical sales, and had this polished, confident energy that made every room feel like it had better lighting when he walked into it. We met at a buddy's engagement party. He was a friend of the bride's, the kind who knew exactly when to laugh and exactly when to place a hand on someone's shoulder, like he'd practiced warmth in a mirror. He wore a navy blazer that probably cost more than my first tool set. When he smiled, people leaned in like they were getting invited into something exclusive. We started talking about travel. He'd been places I'd only ever seen in glossy ads: Santorini, Kyoto, Barcelona. I told him I was planning my first big international trip, and he looked genuinely impressed, like I'd said I was building a rocket. Our first date was at an upscale Italian place he suggested. The menu read like a dare. I remember thinking I'd sound stupid if I mispronounced something, so I kept my order simple. Ethan made it feel effortless. "Tell me about your work," he said, leaning forward like it mattered. So I did. I explained how one mistake in my line can shut down an entire building, ruin temperature-controlled inventory, create safety hazards. His eyes stayed on mine the whole time. "I love how passionate you are," he said, and the words hit something tender in me. Most people I meet talk about their jobs like they're reciting a spreadsheet. You actually care. That meant more than it should have. Because I dated people who heard trade work and immediately asked when I planned to get a real career, Ethan seemed different, at least at first. Early on, he asked questions about my projects. He even came by one of my job sites, this massive historic building being converted into luxury apartments. We were installing a new HVAC system while preserving the original architecture, threading ductwork through old factory bones like we were performing surgery. Ethan showed up in work clothes after a sales meeting, hard hat perched on his head like he belonged there. "This is actually really cool," he said, staring up at the exposed ductwork. I had no idea it was this complex. He took a selfie with me in front of the building, posted it, captioned it something like, "My incredible woman, my future." People commented hearts. Friends said we looked perfect, and I believed it. A year later, he started staying at my condo more and more. One night became 2. 2 became, "Why are you still paying rent somewhere else?" His toiletries appeared in my bathroom. His clothes folded themselves into my closet like they'd been there all along. When we finally said out loud that we were living together, Ethan walked around my living room smiling. "I love this place," he said. "It's so you. Solid, dependable, comfortable." It sounded like a compliment. It was a compliment, right? But then came the little comments. The ones that didn't sound like insults until you stacked them together and realized they formed a pattern. "It's cute," he said one night, looking around the kitchen. "Just small for long term, don't you think? Or, my coworkers just bought a house, like a real house, the kind with a yard. It's wild. Or, you ever think about leveling up? You're amazing at what you do, Naomi, but, bigger. Bigger. It was always bigger. We went to dinner with some of his pharma colleagues and their partners, doctors, lawyers, tech executives. The conversation turned to real estate. Someone mentioned buying in an exclusive neighborhood, bragging about square footage and wine cellars like it was oxygen. Then someone looked at us. What about you two? House hunting? I smiled politely. We're good where we are, I said. My condo's paid off. It gives us a lot of flexibility. Ethan jumped in fast. For now, he said, laughing lightly, like we'd already discussed this. But yeah, we're definitely thinking about upgrading soon. Something with more space, better neighborhood, maybe a yard. News to me. On the drive home, I kept my voice even. We're upgrading soon? Ethan waved it off. I was just making conversation. Then he glanced at me like I was the one being unreasonable. But honestly, don't you think we should start looking? Your condo's perfect for a bachelor life. But if we're serious, I tightened my hands on the steering wheel. My condo's perfect for a couple, I said, and it's paid off, Ethan. No mortgage. He sighed, like I just said I didn't believe in saving money. I just think we should have goals, he said. My colleagues are building wealth. What are we building? I wanted to say a life. I wanted to say us. But the way he asked it made me feel like us wasn't impressive unless it came with granite countertops and a 3-car garage. Still, when he proposed, I said yes. It was Costa Rica. I'd saved for months, taking extra emergency calls and weekend jobs, planning the trip down to the smallest detail. Beach sunset, ring, the whole thing. Ethan cried. Real tears. He posted it everywhere with captions about forever. For a moment, it felt perfect. Then wedding planning started, and the cracks stopped hiding. He wanted a massive event. 250 guests, premium open bar, destination-style venue. The kind of wedding that makes people whisper, they must be loaded. Every time I suggested scaling back, Ethan got defensive. Don't you want our day to be special? He'd ask, eyes sharp. I don't want people thinking we're cheap. Nobody's going to think that, I'd say. We can have something beautiful for half this cost. Half the cost means half the quality, he'd snap. I've been to weddings like that. They're forgettable. The venue alone was $15,000. Catering, $18,000. Open bar, $8,000. Photography and videography, $6,500. Florist, $7,500. DJ, $2,500. When I added everything up, we were staring at $75,000 minimum. One day, 6 hours. A bill big enough to change the shape of your future if you weren't careful. I wasn't rich. I was comfortable. There's a difference. But I loved him. So I agreed to his vision, even as something in my chest kept whispering, this isn't about a wedding. This is about proving something. We agreed to split costs 50-50. We kept separate bank accounts, tracked everything in a shared spreadsheet. I handled the venue deposit, photography, DJ. He handled catering, flowers, his suit, and a bunch of vendors he insisted we needed. And then, 4 months before the wedding, Ethan changed. Late nights, phone tilted away whenever I walked by. One word answers when I asked about his day. No random kisses, no cuddling, no warmth. I'm stressed, he'd say. Wedding planning is a lot. I wanted to believe him. Everyone says wedding planning is chaos, but my gut didn't feel like stress. It felt like secrecy. One afternoon, 6 weeks before the wedding, I got home early. A rooftop unit install wrapped faster than expected. The crane company actually did their job without drama, which felt like a miracle. I walked in quietly and heard Ethan on the balcony. His voice was low, intimate. The kind of voice you use when you think you're alone. I know, he was saying, I know. I just don't know if I can go through with it. I froze in the doorway, keys still in my hand. He's a good person, Ethan continued, then corrected himself, softer, like the truth slipped out. She's a good person. But is good enough? My blood went cold. He was talking to someone like they already understood the whole story, like they were part of it, like they were a woman who mattered. He laughed quietly, no humor in it. Maybe I'm just getting cold feet, he said. Everyone gets cold feet, right? But what if it's more than that? What if I'm settling? Settling. That word hit me like a slap. 3 years, a ring, a wedding, a future, and he was calling it settling. I took one step forward and the balcony door creaked. Ethan turned. His face went white. "I'll call you back," he said quickly, ending the call like it was a crime scene he needed to erase. He shoved his phone into his pocket and his eyes locked on mine. "How much did you hear?" he asked. "Enough," I said, and my voice didn't sound like mine. For a moment, the condo felt too small to hold the truth, and I realized something terrifying. Whatever Ethan was doing, whatever he was hiding, had already started, and I was the last to know. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just stood there in the doorway, keys biting into my palm, watching Ethan like he was someone I'd met once at a party, and not the man who'd ask me to marry him under a Costa Rican sunset. He swallowed, eyes darting like he was calculating the quickest way out of the moment. "It's not what it sounds like," he said automatically. I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You literally said my name. You literally said you don't know if you can go through with it." That was, he rubbed his forehead, that was a private conversation. "So was my life before you moved into it," I said. And yet, here we are. Ethan's jaw tightened. He walked past me into the kitchen, like he could physically reposition the problem. He poured himself a glass of wine with the calm of someone trying to look in control. "Naomi," he said, slow and measured, like he was talking to an upset client. "This is just pre-wedding stress. Everyone questions things." "That didn't sound like questioning," I said. "That sounded like you were auditioning me for the role of good enough." He exhaled sharply, annoyed now. "You're twisting my words." "Am I?" My voice stayed steady, but my chest felt tight, like someone had duct taped my ribs. "Ethan, who were you talking to?" "A friend," he said, too fast. "A friend," I repeated. "Funny how your voice changed when you said her name." His eyes flashed. "You're being dramatic." That word, dramatic, landed like a hook in my throat. Because suddenly I could see it. The pattern. Every time I needed honesty, he branded me as emotional. Every time I asked for clarity, he made me feel unstable for wanting it. I should have pushed harder. I should have demanded the truth right there on the kitchen tile. But I didn't. Because I still loved him. Because I still wanted to believe the man who had cried when I said yes. So I did what women like me always do when love and logic collide. I swallowed the suspicion and told myself I was overreacting. Wedding jitters, stress, cold feet. That's what I called it. That's what Ethan wanted me to call it. And for a week or two, we existed like roommates, managing a shared project. Every conversation was logistics. "Did you confirm the DJ?" "The florist needs final numbers." "Your bridesmaids need to get fitted." "I need your family's addresses for invitations." There was no warmth, no tenderness, just checklists. Ethan started going out more with his coworkers, happy hours that stretched until midnight, client dinners, team bonding. If I asked to come, he shut it down with a practiced smile. "It's just work, people. You'd be bored. And you have early mornings. You should sleep." He wasn't wrong. I did have early mornings. Rooftop units don't care about your relationship. But he came home smelling like expensive cocktails and sometimes cigarette smoke, though Ethan didn't smoke. His cologne was layered over something else, like he'd tried to wash a night off his skin and failed. He'd walk straight into the shower without looking at me. And our sex life, once easy, affectionate, alive, evaporated into awkward, scheduled scraps. Once every 2 weeks, if that. And even then, it felt like he was paying a bill, not sharing a life. I started noticing numbers too, because when you run a crew and manage budgets for installs, you learn to read money like body language. Money tells the truth before people do. Our wedding spreadsheet had charges that didn't make sense. Dinners for 2 on nights Ethan claimed he'd been working late alone. hotel bar tabs downtown when he said he crashed at his friend's place after a late event. When I asked, he didn't explain. He attacked. I'm not accountable to you for every dollar I spend. God, Naomi, you're like the money police. They're work expenses. I haven't reimbursed them yet. But they weren't on a corporate card. They were on his personal card, the card tied to vendors he was responsible for. And that made my stomach twist in a way no romantic reassurance could undo. Then came the text. It was a Tuesday, 3 weeks before the wedding. I was on a job site installing a new HVAC system in a commercial kitchen. Grease traps, airflow requirements, insane heat loads. My brain was deep in calculations when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I wiped my hands, checked the screen. Ethan, we need to talk tonight. Something important. My blood ran cold so fast it was like someone poured ice water down my back. We need to talk is never followed by good news. It's not, I got you a surprise. It's not, I booked our honeymoon. It's a door closing. I finished my shift on autopilot. My crew noticed. Miguel, my second in command, pulled me aside during lunch. Boss, you okay? You've been quiet all morning. Personal stuff, I said, forcing a shrug. Nothing to worry about. He gave me a look that said he didn't believe me. The wedding, he guessed? I didn't answer right away. Miguel nodded slowly. Whatever happens, we got your back. That almost broke me more than Ethan's text did. Because these men, the ones who worked in heat and cold and grime without applause, were offering me something Ethan hadn't offered in weeks. Loyalty. I got home around 6. Ethan was already there, sitting on the couch like he'd rehearsed his posture in the mirror. His expression was serious, too serious, almost staged. He was dressed nicely, hair perfect, shirt crisp, like he was going somewhere after, or like he wanted to look composed while he detonated my life. He didn't even ask how my day was. He just started. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he said. No warmth, no preamble. I set my bag down slowly and sat across from him in the armchair instead of next to him. Okay, I said, talk to me. He took a breath, eyes fixed somewhere above my shoulder, like he couldn't look me in the face and still do it. I'm not sure about us anymore, he said. About the wedding, about everything. There it was. The line that turns your future into ashes. A strange calm settled over me, like my body had already accepted what my heart was still trying to reject. Why? I asked softly. Ethan's words came out too smooth, too prepared. I think we rushed into this, he said. We're different people. You're content with your life, your job, your routine. He said routine like it was a disease. And that's fine for you, he continued, but I want more. I want to travel, experience things, not be tied down to this. He gestured vaguely toward the condo, like my paid-off home was a trap. Mortgage and 9-to-5 existence. I don't even have a mortgage, I said quietly. He waved that away like it didn't matter. You know what I mean, he said. You're practical, stable, safe. Safe. There it was again. Not love. Not partnership. A life jacket he was tired of wearing. And sometimes, he added, voice dropping, I wonder if that's enough. If I'm going to wake up in 10 years and regret not taking chances, not being with someone more exciting. The room tilted. I felt my nails dig into my own palm, grounding myself. What are you saying, Ethan? I asked, even though I knew. He inhaled like he was bracing for impact. I think we should cancel the wedding, he said. I'm not ready. Maybe we need to take a step back and reevaluate what we both want. For a split second, there was a part of me that wanted to fight, beg, bargain. But another part, older, sharper, exhausted, remembered his balcony voice. Is good enough enough? What if I'm settling? I looked at him and realized something that made my skin go cold. He wasn't scared. He was relieved. Relieved to be the one leaving. Relieved to make me carry the emotional mess while he walked away clean. So I gave him the one thing he wasn't expecting. I didn't collapse. I didn't plead. I didn't try to convince him I was worthy. I just nodded once and said, calm as a closed door, okay. Ethan blinked. Okay? I almost laughed at the disbelief on his face. That's it? He demanded. You're not going to fight for us? I leaned back in the chair, studying him the way I'd study a failing unit, looking for the root cause, not the noise. I've been fighting for months, I said quietly, while you've been pulling away, while you've been disappearing, while you've been questioning whether I'm good enough. I'm not going to beg someone to marry me who clearly doesn't want to. His eyes narrowed. He looked almost offended, like my dignity was inconvenient. Well, he snapped, we need to figure out how to cancel everything. The venue, the vendors. It's going to be expensive, but we need to handle this like adults. I held his gaze. Then I said it. The sentence that would change the entire power dynamic in the room. Already done. Ethan froze. What? He breathed. I already called, I said, voice even. I got the cancellation policies. I got the numbers. I documented everything. His face drained of color, then flushed red, like his emotions were fighting over which one deserved to show up first. You canceled our wedding? He stammered, without talking to me? You said you wanted to cancel, I replied. I'm respecting your wishes. But he stood abruptly, pacing like a trapped animal. We were supposed to discuss logistics together. This affects both of us. You wanted to talk logistics, I said calmly. So I did. I reached for my phone, opened my notes, every vendor, every policy, every fee. Ethan stared at the screen like it was a weapon. And in a way, it was, because this wasn't just about a broken engagement anymore. This was about consequences, contracts, and the fact that the man who called me safe had no idea what a woman like me does when she finally stops trying to be chosen. Ethan didn't sit back down. He paced back and forth across my living room like the floor might give him a different answer if he wore it down enough. His hands kept raking through his hair, messing up the careful styling he'd done, like the unraveling outside finally matched what was happening inside him. You're unbelievable, he said finally, stopping in front of me. You just decided all of this without me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I decided to respond to what you asked for, I said. You said you wanted to cancel. I handled it. That's not what I meant, he snapped. I meant we talk first. We figure out timing, strategy. Like this was a merger dissolving, not a relationship he'd already emotionally exited. You didn't want a discussion, I said. You wanted an escape hatch. He scoffed. That's not fair. No, I said evenly. What's not fair is calling off a wedding 3 weeks out and expecting the fallout to magically disappear. I scrolled through my notes and read aloud, calm and clinical. The venue has a 30-day cancellation policy. We're 21 days out. Deposit is forfeited. $8,000. Ethan's jaw tightened. The photographer can rebook, so we get half the deposit back, $1,200. DJ and caterer have 14-day policies. Those deposits are gone. $2,500 and $4,200. I looked up at him. Those are facts, not feelings. You're really doing this? He demanded. Right now? You asked to talk logistics, I said. These are the logistics. His voice went sharp, shrill with panic now. You're punishing me. I shook my head once. No, I'm letting contracts do what contracts do. He stared at me like I'd suddenly become someone dangerous. You did this on purpose, he accused. You're trying to screw me over. I'm trying to be done, I said quietly. Those aren't the same thing. Ethan grabbed his keys off the counter with shaking hands. I can't be here right now. That's probably for the best, I said. He paused at the door. For a second, I thought he might say something real, something honest. Instead, he threw one last line over his shoulder like a grenade. You're cold, Naomi. This is why I had doubts. The door slammed hard enough to knock a framed photo crooked on the wall. I didn't fix it. I sat there for a minute, listening to the silence rush in like water filling a drained pool. Then I got to work. I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I opened my laptop. Vendor by vendor, I made the cancellations official. I was polite, professional, clear. This is Naomi Carter. There's been a change of plans regarding our upcoming wedding. Emails went out, confirmation numbers came back, screenshots saved, everything documented. Every conversation logged with timestamps, names, and policies. When the caterer pushed back, voice tight with frustration, I didn't argue. I understand completely, I said. Can you please send me the final invoice itemized? Of course, she replied. Should I send it to both you and Ethan? And that's when the idea formed. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't loud. It was simply precise. Actually, I said slowly, Ethan is the primary contact on the catering contract. He signed it and provided his card information. There was a pause. Paper shuffling. Yes, she confirmed. That's correct. Then he should receive the invoice directly, I said. The cancellation was initiated by him. I think it's only fair the charges go to the person who made that decision. Another pause. I understand, she said carefully. In that case, the cancellation fee will be charged to the card on file. Thank you, I said. I appreciate it. I repeated the process with every vendor where Ethan was the primary contact. The florist, his card. The bar upgrades, his signature. The suit boutique, obviously his responsibility. The hair and makeup team he insisted we needed. His name, his card. I didn't argue. I didn't embellish. I simply told the truth. When Ethan came back around 10 that night, he smelled like wine and cigarette smoke again. His eyes were glassy, his posture defensive. I was sitting at the table with a neatly printed spreadsheet. We should probably go over the financial fallout, I said calmly. He stared at the paper like it might bite him. What is this? An itemized breakdown, I said. Vendors I was responsible for versus vendors you were responsible for. His face went red as he scanned it. These charges... He stopped, fingers shaking. These are going to my card. You were the primary contact, I said. You signed the contracts. That's how cancellation fees are processed. I didn't cancel anything, he shouted. You asked to cancel, I said. I made the calls. That's manipulation, he snapped. You set me up. No, I said. I respected your decision. His hands were visibly shaking now. You wanted out, I continued. This is what out costs. I'm not paying all of this, he said, voice breaking. Half of this should be yours. Then take it up with the vendors, I replied. They'll explain the contracts you signed. I stood, pushing my chair in neatly. I'm going to bed, I said. You can take the couch if you need somewhere to sleep, but you should start looking for a place. He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. You're kicking me out? This is my condo, I said. I bought it before we met. I think it's time we lived separately. That did it. He stormed into the bedroom, grabbing clothes, shoving them into a bag, while muttering about how heartless I was, how no one would treat someone they loved this way. I watched from the doorway, strangely calm, because love doesn't call you settling. He left. I changed the locks the next morning. $350 for new deadbolts and keys, worth every cent. The text started immediately. Furious, pleading, threatening. You're vindictive. We can work this out if you apologize. My lawyer says what you did is illegal. I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my lawyer friend Marissa, who had called the moment Ethan said, cancel. She's going to try to make you the villain, Marissa had warned. Document everything. Don't engage emotionally. So I didn't. Ethan's sister showed up at my job site 2 days later, designer sunglasses on, arms crossed like she was ready for a performance. You're a real piece of work, she said loudly, within earshot of my crew. I kept my voice professional. This isn't the place. He's devastated, she snapped. Panic attacks, can't sleep. You did this to punish him. I met her gaze. He chose to end the engagement. These are the financial consequences. She scoffed. You've always been controlling. That stung because it was so far from the truth. I'm working, I said. If Ethan has legal concerns, he should contact his lawyer. Now please leave. That night, his mother called. She talked about compassion, about understanding fear, about how I'd made things harder than they needed to be. I listened. Then I said the truth I'd been holding back. I was willing to build a life, I said. He wanted an exit that didn't cost him anything. That's not how reality works. She hung up. I blocked the number. 2 days later, Ethan emailed me a formal invoice, itemized, calculated to the dollar, demanding I pay my fair share. I replied with my own spreadsheet. Rent he'd paid over 2 years, below market. Utilities, trips I'd covered. The engagement ring, conditional gift, no wedding. Deposits I'd already lost. Total, far more than he'd contributed. If we're settling accounts, I wrote, we should be complete. Otherwise, we each handle our own contracts and move on. Silence. Then, finally, the truth filtered back through mutual friends. The woman on the balcony? His ex-girlfriend. The one he'd never fully let go of. The one he'd been just talking to while planning a wedding with me. And suddenly, everything made sense. I wasn't cold. I wasn't heartless. I was done being someone's safe place while they kept one foot in the past. And for the first time since the ring slid onto my finger, the condo felt like mine again. The fallout came quietly. No lawsuit, no dramatic courtroom showdown, just whispers. Through mutual friends, I learned Ethan took out a personal loan to cover the vendor charges. His credit dropped hard. He moved back in with family. The man who needed more suddenly had less than he'd started with. And me? I worked. I slept better. I stopped feeling like I had to prove my worth to someone who measured love in square footage and Instagram optics. One evening, weeks later, I stood alone in my condo, windows open, city noise drifting in, and noticed something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the quiet that comes from avoiding conflict. The quiet that comes from choosing yourself. Ethan didn't leave because I wasn't enough. He left because he didn't know how to stand beside a woman who was. And for the first time since the engagement ended, I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I was finally free.